As you know, at Pitch Your Nonprofit, we are the Shark Tank of nonprofits. I'm Liberty Madison. I host Pitch Your Nonprofit, which is the #1 nonprofit show on Clubhouse. We're also the #1 pitch club on Clubhouse. So I'm really, really excited about that. We've funded over $225,000 to nonprofit founders. I have to say, it's the best show I've ever been a part of. I'm so excited to host it, and hearing the stories and seeing the impact of actual nonprofits and how they're working grassroots in the community has been just life-changing and life-altering for me. I'm really, really excited to be a part of this show. As you know, at Pitch Your Nonprofit, we are the Shark Tank of nonprofits. However, we take it a step further and we give you on-the-spot coaching that is what you need to hear. Is an accelerated coaching program for anyone who's coming to the stage. We really help prepare you for the next time you pitch. She landed all of the sharks. Her entire summer program was funded on Pitch Your Nonprofit. Just to give you context on what the show is an amazing platform that focuses on nonprofit founders. I bring people to the stage and to the space with our guest sharks to help fund nonprofit founders. If you're not a founder, you can't pitch on Pitch Your Nonprofit. You have to be a founder. That's it. Pitch Your Nonprofit gives you that platform and gives you that engine and give you that spotlight in order to make funding possible for your organization. You know how passionate nonprofit people are? They don't give up. Imagine someone with a mission and a personal cause who doesn't have to be well funded, but motivated and determined and will never stop. That is a nonprofit founder. I love this community and I want to bring funding to this community. I want to bring mentorship. I want to bring advisors. I had a number of my tech community come to Pitch Your Nonprofit, listen to these pitches from nonprofit founders, and jump on the boards of the nonprofits. So not only are they getting access to tech tools, tech talent, and I mean, let's be honest, tech funding, tech money's that's the best. One of the founders who is an alum at Pitch Your Nonprofit, he's received thousands and thousands of dollars from a connection from Pitch Your Nonprofit. You can really get the pitches and you'll have access to that. And all of the audio isn't clean. Like some of the audio is, a little dirty, but I think it'll serve its purpose and will improve the quality over time. The only difference between you and cash is visibility. That's it. If they know about you, they can fund you. If they don't know about you, they cannot fund you. And I am here to cure MIA. Yes, because you're missing in action. If they can't find you, you're MIA, and I'm here to cure that. So we're here to cure that. Pitch Your Nonprofit show, and we're the Shark Tank of nonprofits. We're the #1 nonprofit show on Clubhouse. I want to thank all of the sharks, from Mike, Shelton, Gerald, Quiara.
Pitch Your Nonprofit starts now.
Subscribe.
Hello. Welcome everyone to Pitch Your Nonprofit show. Welcome. I see people coming in. Brenna, Joel, Diana. Hey, what's up, Ken? Hey, Chris. Hey, Melissa. Hey, Toby. Welcome. You guys are at the Nonprofit Founders Club. Charnay, hey, good to see you again. Love the new background. Great shot. Love it. Hey, Javier, how's it going? Welcome, everyone. Alexia, I love the new faces. Welcome to Pitch Your Nonprofit show. I'm just going to get started by welcoming you into the space. Caeley, hey!
Hi. I did not mean to join the stage. I didn't realize that was a default.
It's not a default, but for the past 3 weeks, someone has popped on stage.
Okay. I will move myself back down to the audience, but I'm excited to be here.
No worries. All right, Caeley. Caeley's one of my... You know what, Caeley? I'm going to have you stay up here. You're already up here. I'm going to have you stay up here because I would love to talk about
just kind of what we've been talking about in the DMs as far as your pitch. And I love your story of how you came to Pitch Your Nonprofit Show and how you won and how you were able to really magnify your success on Pitch Your Nonprofit. I would love to hear more from you. So that is it. It's very interesting that you just popped up.
Yeah.
So this is perfect. I love it. So today's episode is a bit different. So this actually fits in perfectly, Caeley. This fits in perfectly because today I wanted to take some time to do a Pitch Your Nonprofit special episode of how to join, how to pitch on Pitch Your Nonprofit Show. If you guys are new to Pitch Your Nonprofit Show, I'll give you some insight and backstory on the show and welcome you to that and the typical flow of the show. However, today is a very special edition because I want to walk you through how to pitch on Pitch Your Nonprofit Show and their criteria, how it works, what the flow looks like. And also now Caeley will be an excellent person for our success story of once you follow the format for Pitch Your Nonprofit Show, it'll be a hit. A lot of people in my DMs are always asking questions. So I wanted to kind of say, hey, we're not really gonna dive into pitches today. We're going to walk through how you can do it. A lot of people want to know, how do I get on Pitch Your Nonprofit Show? What are you guys doing? What's this about? What has happened? And this is a perfect opportunity to talk to Caeley over at Reinvented. See, Caeley, I remember that ED today. Magazine. Magazine and some insight from her. I'm Liberty Madison, your host at Pitch Your Nonprofit Show. And Pitch Your Nonprofit Show is brought to you by the Nonprofit Founders Club. If you look at the top, you'll see that little green house at the top. Click that little green house to stay connected for everything that comes out of the Nonprofit Founders Club. You are in not only are we the #1 pitch show on Clubhouse, and not only are we the #1 nonprofit pitch show on Clubhouse, this is a fact that I don't think people realize or I've heard in the past. We're the #1 are the first nonprofit club that was on Clubhouse. So that's something exciting that I think I'm going to share more often and talk about in that capacity. So that is something really exciting. And I want to just quickly walk you through how to pitch on Pitch Your Nonprofit Show, what the criteria is. You have to be a nonprofit founder. As much as we love all of the different silos and the entire ecosystem of the nonprofit space, we love the advisors, we love the volunteers, we love the supporters, we love the champions, everyone in the ecosystem. You have to be the founder of the organization in order to pitch your nonprofit. And currently, we are limited to US based nonprofits. So you have to be a US based organization in order to pitch on Pitch Your Nonprofit. A number of the sharks are limited just via tax purposes. They're limited on funding nonprofit organizations based in the United States only. So that's why we have that just kind of parameter that just says you have to be a US based nonprofit. So two things: you have to be the founder of the organization and you have to be a US based nonprofit. You can go to PitchYourNonProfit.com in order to apply to pitch on the show. And what that does, because sometimes we have a long line where there are a number of hands raised and unfortunately, we just don't get to your pitch that night. But when you go to PitchYourNonProfit.com and you apply to pitch, we know who you are and we can bump you up to the front of the line and we can get you in and get your pitch in. And another reason to go to PitchYourNonProfit.com is also apply to pitch so we know who you are, because there's a lot of people that kind of pop in, pop out, but we want to make sure we are building our community of Pitch Your Nonprofit, our community here at Pitch Your Nonprofit, and know who the nonprofit game changers are and welcome you into the ecosystem. That is basically how you pitch on Pitch Your Nonprofit. You have to be the nonprofit founder. You have to be a US based nonprofit, and you can go to PitchYourNonProfit.com. And before I dive into Caeley and her experience at Pitch Your Nonprofit, if you have any questions, feel free to raise your hand and we're happy to bring you up. We're happy to bring you up on the stage. Again, Pitch Your Nonprofit Show, we have funded over $250,000 to nonprofit founders. And on Pitch Your Nonprofit Show, our goal is to increase your visibility and change the way the world discovers nonprofit. So if you are a nonprofit founder, this is the place to be in order to fund your organization, expand your mission, increase your income, increase your impact, and increase your influence. And I want to welcome Miss Caeley to the show. Welcome to Pitch Your Nonprofit Show, Miss Caeley. I would love for you to share your experience with Pitch Your Nonprofit, and I'll give you my perception of how it went, because to me, Miss Caeley is just a rock star. She has been attending Pitch Your Nonprofit Show for months, and she has taken notes. She's perfected her pitch, and she messaged me in the DMs and wanted to get some further insight on her pitch. But if you know me, I never give insight on your pitch, because I wouldn't be just as thrilled as and shocked when you come to the stage to pitch. I'm like, okay, for the first time, I want to hear it myself. And the Sharks, I will say this, the Sharks did not know that she was pitching that evening. I knew because she messaged me, but they had no idea that she was pitching. And I would love for you to take it from there, Caeley. What was your experience like?
Yeah, so you hit it right on the nail. I mean, if you know me, and you kind of know me now, I'm a nervous person, or really I'm an introverted person. So getting up on a stage like this, it's definitely not a norm for me. So I was one of the others in the room, or maybe followed by the speakers after attending a few episodes of this for a while, just listening and learning, and really like watching every single person who got up and had the courage to pitch every week kind of reap the rewards from all of the Sharks, who are also incredible and insightful. And even if you don't win money, you get like million-one resources from it. But like I said, or like Liberty said, I run a nonprofit called Reinvented Inc. So we're all about getting girls in STEM. So I had a bunch of magazines, which are all geared towards kind of empowering girls in STEM, providing them with role models, sitting in our storage unit, and no funds to get them out to girls who were requesting them. So I was like, okay, all right, I need the money. I'm the founder. Like, I can do this. Naturally, like I said, was introverted, super nervous. I remember asking you like at least 1,000,001 questions in the DMs, even after I had like watched the show a bunch of times, or I guess listened to it. And I got up, and I ended up being the first person to pitch that night, which was horrifying and exciting all at the same time. I don't think I'd ever seen someone who went first win anything yet, so I was like, oh man, this is going to be a good experience, but it's going to suck at the same time. So I had been working on my pitch for that whole day and long before then, and I ended up winning, or I ended up getting $2,000, which was fully funded everything that I wanted to do, which was to then donate about 1,000 magazines to girls all over the country. And as a result from that, I think the ball for us, like as Reinvented, has really just kept rolling and growing bigger, because of our ability to win money from the show. I went back to our champions board that night, and I told some of our champions and our partners that we had just won, and all of a sudden they were like, oh my god, that's incredible, well, let's keep building on this momentum that you have. And they threw in an extra $1,000, which got out more magazines. And I've continued to work on our pitch, and I know I told you earlier this week, and I think I've also told Amit, who I see in the audience there, but our pitch continued to kind of get better, and I've started to like actually go out to the world and like present it to people who have money. And this week we brought in a $15,000 donation from a tech founder who really resonated with our cause because of that pitch, so that we can continue to do even more with our programs and all of that. So I'm beyond grateful for everything that this show has given us, and so everyone in the room should be very excited about where you are right now, because I promise you this show is worth it.
Wow, I'm so blown away. I will have to say, Caeley, your story is one of my all-time favorites, and it's one of my all-time favorites for a few reasons. And I like to break those reasons down as to why your story is one of my favorites. One, obviously, you are a tech nonprofit, and I'm so so thrilled about that. I love that aspect just right off the jump. I think that's amazing, and you're encouraging young girls to to kind of reinvent themselves. Like, and again, that's where you have the name from, reinvent themselves, and look at the STEM industry as a viable opportunity and a way that they can actually immerse and grow and challenge themselves. So I really love that aspect about your organization. And aside from your organization being a STEM led organization, I love the fact that you took a chance after you took an action to research. You were at Pitch Your Nonprofit for a while, as you just mentioned, for a while, listening to pitches, learning how to pitch, learning the framework, listening to other founders, implementing it, working on it, workshopping it, and then presenting it on stage. That is that's amazing, because a lot of people just kind of jump up and go, which I love as well. But I love the fact that you really honed in and did the work on perfecting your pitch. And another thing that I really love about your story is when you when you won, and like, and I do know you, so I know getting on stage is not, that is not your wheelhouse at all. You're not looking to do that, but you did, and you overcame that challenge. And I think a lot of people who come to Pitch Your Nonprofit and they sit in the audience and they don't raise their hand, we've seen that they will sit there for months upon months upon months and never come on stage because of their fear of either public speaking, or they just don't want to be on stage. But if we don't know about you, how can we fund you? And I love that you were able to overcome that challenge. I think that's phenomenal. And also, I really appreciate the fact that you went back and continued to share the message with your board, and they were able to continue funding your organization, because it's really exciting when you have that visibility and you say, hey, we just won on the show, and they jumped right in to support you and champion you. And can you talk about a bit about the aspect of perfecting your pitch and how that's helped you outside of Pitch Your Nonprofit? Because one thing about Pitch Your Nonprofit show is, yes, we are here to be the platform to help nonprofit founders gain that visibility and help the world discover people that are doing good in the world and organizations and grassroots community. But I would say another thing that we are determined to do is support nonprofit founders in their pitch. That's one of the reasons that we do Pitch Your Nonprofit, is to help you pitch like a tech founder. I, as that tech girl, have sat through thousands and thousands of pitches from tech founders looking to raise venture capital or seek angel investment. And this is an area that I feel nonprofit founders really don't hone in on. And now that you've honed in on those skills, you were able to tap into a donation of a sizable amount from a tech founder. So I would love to hear more about that, Caeley.
Yeah, for sure. So I will say, you're right. I sat in the audience for such a long time, and I worked on perfecting my pitch for a while. And I will say that, like, after watching the show a few times, you kind of pick up on what each of the sharks is trying to, or each of the sharks is looking for or listening for. So as I was kind of writing my pitch, because I'm an over planner and I had like a million and one iterations in a Google Doc going, and then the night of I ended up kind of half winging it anyway. But I was like, oh, okay, Gerald is going to love if I say this, or Gerald is going to love if I say this. And I think that by listening to this show, I've learned a lot about not just pitching for money, but like pitching in general, and how like you need to gear your pitch to the people that are listening. And so, in this case, I knew who was listening. I knew the sharks. I watched the show a bunch of times, so I knew what they were looking for. And since then, it's been a little bit of a struggle trying to learn like how to rewrite that pitch for certain things. But I went to an event like 2 weekends ago. My partner came with me, and he was like, "Man, you got your spiel down now." And for the first time, I was like, "Oh my gosh, you're right! Like I know how to pitch now." And it was crazy. But yeah, I think the biggest thing that I learned from Pitch Your Nonprofit, one is you raise your voice, and like you tend to get what you want. So big shout out to not being shy all the time there. But two is to definitely know your audience, and know what your ask is and be definitive about that. I think that if I went into pitches just kind of saying like, hey, we're a women in STEM nonprofit, we do all this cool stuff, give us some money, like we would definitely not get where we've gotten, or be able to have brought in that $15,000 donation, or form partnerships that have been really incredible over I guess the last couple months, since I've won and learned a lot about pitching. So yeah.
One thing that you just said that stood out to me was your partner came with you to the event and said, "Wow, you really have your spill down." That to me sounds like confidence. Did you feel confident in talking with other people and pitching to other people now that you had the framework, the pitch down? How did that impact your personal level of confidence?
Yeah, so I don't know. It's definitely weird because I'm still introverted. I'm still nervous every single time I talk to someone. And I think that that's just something that's gonna exist forever. This is just who I am. But I think especially like when you're trying to form your pitch, and I mean, being a founder, you know everything about your organization, whether like you believe it in the moment or not. You do. You know what funding you need. You know what programs you need funding for. You know how much funding you need. And so I, being introverted and not like constantly nervous, I don't think that I really had that confidence until I started pitching and started seeing that, like, okay, the more I raise my voice and the more like I ask people for things, like the more like I actually get those things, and the confidence comes in. You're like, yeah, you're right. Like I totally do know what I'm talking about. I started this organization, right? I know what it stands for. I know what we need. I think the confidence comes with doing it over and over again, for sure.
Wow, that sounds like a complete just personal transformation. I love that because it's like I think you said this earlier. It's not just about receiving the funding or receiving one of the sharks to, like come in and fund your organization. It's the information and feedback that you get and the opportunity to practice your pitch. I want to invite anyone in the audience to come up and raise your hand if you have any questions about Pitch Your Nonprofit Show. Today is a very special episode of Pitch Your Nonprofit Show. I wanted to take this time to spend a little time talking about how you pitch on Pitch Your Nonprofit and who is eligible to pitch on Pitch Your Nonprofit and kind of give you a rundown of the show. Caeley is a Pitch Your Nonprofit alum, and I absolutely love her story. And I want to invite you to support her organization, and because what she does is needed. It is definitely needed in the space, and we want to rally behind her and support. And I want to kind of tap in a bit into the Pitch Your Nonprofit community and how the show works. When you come to Pitch Your Nonprofit Show, we have a specific format where we have all of our sharks on the stage. We don't have them on the stage today because we are doing a very special episode of Pitch Your Nonprofit Show. We typically have our sharks, which is Mike Shaw, who's the co-founder. Excuse me, he co-founded the organization with his daughter. He's a co-founder of Team Jenny Bean. We have Shelton Banks, who is the founder of We Work Training, which is a phenomenal organization that helps people get into the tech industry by way of sales, which I really find fascinating because a lot of people tend to try to push everyone towards learning how to code. And some people, they don't want to learn how to code, but they do want to be in the tech industry. And his organization lets you know that you'll be able to enter the tech industry and really double your salary, or in some cases that he explains, he takes average workers who could be making a $30,000 to $40,000 income, and as soon as they complete his training at WeWork Training, they are now at a 60, 70, 80, $90,000 annual salary through sales. It's quite fascinating. And we have Gerald Moore Sr., who is the founder of Mission Fulfilled 2030. Mission Fulfilled 2030 is on a mission to help young Black boys get into the STEM industry and be mentored by Black men in the STEM industry. He's a data engineer and will turn now author, number one best-selling author on Amazon. And also he's raised over $100,000 on LinkedIn. And you can check out his LinkedIn profile, and he loves LinkedIn. So just want to shout him out for that. If you go to LinkedIn for nonprofits.com, that's his space as well. And he is always happy to give you guys information. And we are also joined by Quayera Archer, who I love to talk about Quayera because she is, I think, the epitome of someone who started a nonprofit from zero, started a nonprofit from literally nothing and took it to a multi-million-dollar organization in New York. And that is a challenge in itself. And I'm just so thrilled that she's been able to do that. And not only just execute that, but be recognized by the United States government, y'all. I mean, she received an award from the Obama administration and she received the White House Humanitarian Award. Her feedback and contribution to Pitch Your Nonprofit show is just invaluable. I'm so thrilled to have her as one of our sharks and her contributions to the nonprofit space worldwide. And to have her part of the show is just fantastic. So when Caeley was referring to the sharks, those are the sharks that she's referring to, and they all have different things that they're looking for at the top of the show. How that works, what that run of show looks like is when you apply to pitch a pitch nonprofit, I know who you are. The sharks have no idea who you are. When you come to the stage, it is their first time ever hearing about you or your organization. If you filled out the form, I already know about you and your organization, but they do not. At the top of the show, when I'm introducing them, they will let you know what they're looking for tonight. Cheryl is Gerald is always looking for creativity. Shelton is always looking for you to pull his heartstrings. And Caeley knows this because she's identified which kind of attribute that each shark is looking for. And Mike wants you to tell that brand story. He is our story guy. He's our brand guy there. So he wants you to tell that story and interject yourself, your personal story into why you are driving and spearheading this nonprofit that you are pitching. And with that being said, we have organizations that come to the stage knowing what they need to do. Run of show, I will ask you, are you a nonprofit founder? You will say, yes, I am. And then I will say, you have the stage. Once you pitch, we go around with the sharks. Each shark has an opportunity to offer feedback. Each shark has an opportunity to jump in and offer funding. And once your segment is complete, I'll ask you, was that helpful for you? Was the feedback helpful? And that is the conclusion for your segment. And we move on to the next nonprofit founder who is pitching. And what we do at that point, we just go each person. However, when I say, this is a bit of a caveat here, when I say, are you a nonprofit founder? And your answer is no. Caeley, what happens when the answer is no?
Actually, I don't know if I've ever seen anyone say no on the show.
You know what? That would be great. if that had happened, but unfortunately, I will answer that question for you right now, Caeley. What happens? Because I do, when I'm introducing Pitch Your Nonprofit, I do the run of show at the top of the hour, every half hour. It's on the website. It's on every aspect. So you have to be a nonprofit founder. But in the event you say no, that you are not a nonprofit founder, I internally, like, this isn't out loud, but I internally question what you're doing. That's what happens, Caeley. I sit here and I wish you could see my face and I go, what? What? Okay. And then out of my mouth comes, well, you know what? Thank you so much for coming to Pitch Your Nonprofit show. However, you are at the Shark Tank for Nonprofits. This is the #1 pitch show, and you have to be a nonprofit founder. So I let them know the parameters of what it takes to pitch, and I invite them to come to Cheat Codes, which I invite them to come to Nonprofit Cheat Codes, which is every Saturday at 10 a.m. Central, 11 a.m. Eastern time. And that's an opportunity for them to come in and to ask questions and to talk and to get what they need done. So that's what happens, Caeley. I internally have a different dialogue than I express. And then I say, thank you for coming to Pitch Your Nonprofit. And then I invite them to Nonprofit Cheat Codes because that we'll just leave that there. And once you complete your pitch on Pitch Your Nonprofit show, you receive your funding immediately. And this is the part that that really excites me about Pitch Your Nonprofit show. When you pitch, you're not just pitching for the sharks. You're not just pitching for me. You're not just obviously you're pitching for the experience to pitch because we all love that aspect. However, you're pitching for the audience.
This is my favorite part of Pitch Your Nonprofit show, and Caeley, I'm sure you can attest to this as well. We we have a very strong nonprofit community at Pitch Your Nonprofit show. People in our audience are looking for nonprofits to fund. They will send DMs, they will send funds, and the funds will continue to roll, continue to come to your organization. We do what is called a Pitch Your Nonprofit activation. When a pitch is so phenomenal and your ask is specific and strategic and aligns with the mission of your organization and is communicated clearly, I take the time to activate the audience on your behalf. What does that look like? What is activating an audience on your behalf? Activating an audience on your behalf is I want to activate the audience to give Caeley, our contribute to an organization who is pitch $25, $50, $75, whatever that ask is, the way you have outlined it for your said pitch, we activate the audience on your behalf. And I have seen thousands come through with activating the audience. Caeley, can you talk about your experience with getting funds from the audience and not just from the sharks?
Yeah, I'm thinking, and I think that you might have kicked this off with my pitch actually, and I don't remember which shark was the one that did it, but after I pitched, he said like he was gonna donate, I think it was like $20, and that instead of like donating more, he encouraged everyone in the audience to donate $20 to my organization as well. And then donation receipts started showing up in all of like the audience profile pictures, and we ended up raising quite a bit of funds just from that. And I think that I've seen that happen almost every single show since then where the audience pulls through. But I also wanted to shout out, I think Quiera came from the audience, right? She was kind of just a random person who came up on stage one day and was like, "Hey, I'm me. I think that this is awesome. I'd love to be a bigger part of it." And that's how like you guys found her, right?
That's absolutely
Right.
right.
So
That's
like
yeah.
she is the kind of person who sits in the audience. Like yeah. So yeah.
She's saying that to remind you of you're not just pitching for the sharks. Quiera, who has received a humanitarian award from the Obama administration, sitting in the audience wanting to find nonprofit founders to fund. And one story that reminds me of, Caeley, is Coach Coop. Coach Coop is a not Pitch Your Nonprofit alum, and from my audience being in the tech space, I have a large tech following that comes to Pitch Your Nonprofit, and he was able to secure a Silicon Valley tech investor to be on his board. And that just really, really thrills me. Organizations and contributions have come in for his organization from pitching at Pitch Your Nonprofit. Other tech companies and their friends have funded his organization from Pitch Your Nonprofit. So it has a perfect overlap because when you come up to the stage, you just have to be clear that you're not just pitching for the sharks, you're not just pitching for yourself, but you are really pitching for connection with the audience and activating them. I didn't know that yours was the first audience activation, Caeley. That is I couldn't remember where we started that aspect from, but that is I believe I do remember when we have people and then we have people popping up their $20 receipts, and it just kept going and it just kept going. And I think that's when it became a part, right? Like it became a part of the show to activate on behalf. And I see a couple of faces that pop in, and when I think about the audience activation and activating on behalf of founders, I think of Amy. Amy, I'm going to call you out here. Amy is in the VIP section if you want to see her at the top. I call that the VIP section where it says follow by speakers. She's at the top here. And hey, Tracy, I see you guys coming in. Hey, Amit, Jerome, I see you guys popping in. And one thing I love about Amy is she is the personification of what we're talking about, the audience activations. Every week she sends me receipts of a nonprofit that she heard on Pitch Your Nonprofit, and she sends me those receipts faithfully every week. You can definitely count on Amy supporting the show, and I bring her up as an example of community. Pitch Your Nonprofit show is about building community because it is not up to grants. It is not up to other people to fuel the mission and to fuel your passion. We have to build a community so we are there for each other. We have to build a community that supports one another. And when you have that reciprocity, I've seen a lot of founders on Pitch Your Nonprofit while they're pitching, they'll before their pitch or after their pitch, they'll say, I heard such and such and such pitch and I want to contribute this amount. And I've seen sharks go in and double their contributions and double their funding because they've seen reciprocation from founders. So I want to make sure that that is an opportunity for you as well. Be sure to have the mindset of reciprocity when you come to the stage. I don't want you just to come to the stage and get money. I don't want you just to come to the stage and grab some cash and go, because that just sounds like, that doesn't even sound like something you want to be a part of, to grab and go. I want you to come to the audience and support other founders, even when you're not pitching that day, even when you have finished your pitch. Let's just say you've completed your pitch. I don't want you to complete your pitch and dip. I want you to stay in the audience and support other nonprofit founders, because it really does pay off. A lot of connections are always happening in the audience. What I want to do quickly, just to shift gears a bit here, is go through the framework for everyone listening, or that perhaps is new to Pitch Your Nonprofit show. Go through the framework of an ideal pitch for Pitch Your Nonprofit show. And as we can see here, Caeley is just a phenomenal example of what Pitch Your Nonprofit alum looks like. Like, Caeley, the momentum that you have, where it has taken your organization, I just want to commend you and say thank you so much for continuing to keep us updated. And again, we have a lot of really cool things in store as we grow Pitch Your Nonprofit show. You'll definitely see more of Caeley. But going through the framework of Pitch Your Nonprofit, if you click on my face, you'll see the Pitch Your Nonprofit IG account. I want you to click on that Pitch Your Nonprofit IG. Click on that Pitch Your Nonprofit IG and follow that page. That page is going to give you all the updates, new insight, what's coming out for nonprofit founders. That is where you will get your frameworks. That's where you will get new partners coming to the show, or people that we really, I say people because we get to know you personally, but organizations that we want to fund going forward. So make sure to go to that page. And when you look at that page, you see what is called the Pitch Your Nonprofit, the Pitch Perfect framework. And the Pitch Perfect framework, we like to keep very simple. And it has 4 phases of your pitch. And feel free to take notes as to what that looks like if you've never worked out your pitch before. But it's just it's core elements that you want to include in your pitch. And I've heard a variety of pitches that unfortunately don't include all of these, but we want to keep it in a succinct way. We want to know who you are. What do you do? Who you are. What do you do? Which is pretty simple, right? It's pretty simple. Who you are. What do you do? And why you? Why are you doing this? What makes you special to do it? And what do you need? What is your ask? So that's pretty much it. It sounds like a lot of work, and it is. The framework is pretty simple, but actually doing it is a bit challenging. I get that. I understand that. Who you are, what do you do, and what's your ask? And what does that look like as far as a nonprofit goes? Because obviously, if you are a tech founder and you're pitching to VCs and you're pitching for angel investment, it'll look slightly different. But in your nonprofit pitch, you have to include key elements as far as your impact, as far as your program, data, your brand story. How are you weaving the support of a hero? Positioning. How are you positioning that? And that's the key elements that you want to do. And a couple of nonprofit founders who have come on Pitch Your Nonprofit and have won a substantial amount of money, they have shocking information. And when I say shocking, think of a headline, something that's shocking and that will grab your attention. I remember we had a pitch a few days ago, well, maybe a couple of weeks ago, and it was, she stopped and paused for 73 seconds. And she goes, each point that she makes, she reminds you of these 73 seconds as she gets to her end point. You have to look at shocking statements that'll take you off guard because you're giving your pitch. And that's the framework, those four core elements: who you are, what do you do, what do you want, that's your ask, and the icing on the cake is why you. That's the core framework, and there's some other elements that you can weave into it. As we mentioned, you can weave in the data aspect. 5 kids are homeless on the street, like that's some data, and the data of impact, because you have to look at who you're pitching to. Let's go into reading the room. Caeley, you talked about this earlier about learning how to read your room. I want to touch on that too, and get your insight on something. When we look at reading the room, we look at our audience. That's what that means. Look at your audience, know your audience. For this particular space on Pitch Your Nonprofit show at this time, we're not looking for you to come to the stage and ask for $30,000, right? Like we got to look at the space that we're in right now. But if you say our overall goal is $30,000, but right now we need $3,000 to do X, Y, Z, ABC, we have funded $3,000 multiple times. We can, hand over fist, we've done that. So that's something that we can aim to do if you have your ask down and your ask in a specific way. And one thing that I want to talk about as far as well, before I go into the ask, I want to talk about reading the room. Reading the room and reading your audience, knowing who you're talking to. You can look at different asks from a capital campaign, a capital raise, versus an independent contributor, an independent donor, versus a foundation who's going to support your organization. One pitch is not just the single pitch that you're going to unfold in every conversation that you will enter into. You will have multiple pitches, but you have to have one base pitch that you can turn into an elevator pitch, which is 60 to 90 seconds. You do not want your pitch to exceed 90 seconds because the attention span of the audience drifts off. And I don't want you to lose anybody, because I know you're doing phenomenal work. I know you're doing great work, and I don't want you to lose anyone. So Caeley, can you talk about your experience as far as reading the room, how you landed at the amount that you asked for? Because I think that's key for your success at Pitch Your Nonprofit show.
Yeah, absolutely. I unfortunately have to go right after this and have some dinner, but I think you hit on like my number two, like my number one and two tips, which one is to make sure that the amount that you're asking for is relatable. So in here, you're right. Like I think that one of the number one things that I see people come in and do, and that I'm not sure I'd call a mistake, but it relates back to reading the room, is they ask for these huge amounts, or they come in saying like they need like a whole building funded or something, and this is just not the place for that. So when we came in and we pitched, like I said, we were trying to get magazines donated. So not only did we come in with a specific ask of, it was $2,000 so we can get 1,000 magazines shipped out to girls all over the country, but we also broke it down even further to say like, hey, just $2 is what it takes to get one magazine out there. So at that point, it was relatable not only for the sharks who could hear that $2,000 number, but also for everyone in the audience where, at $2, you're making a huge impact for a girl out there who is trying to get into science and technology. And then number two, and you brought that up as well, is the 60 to 90 seconds. We tried to stay very strict with that. I promise you guys, Liberty will cut you off if you go too much over that. And the sharks just will get bored if you go over that. I think that's one of the other big things or reasons I've seen sharks, not be as inclined to give you what you're asking for. So I strongly suggest that honing in on that brand story and quickly jumping into the very specific and relatable ask, something that can empower not just the sharks but everyone in the audience to give as well.
That was perfect. Thank you so much, Caeley. I think those are, raise your hands in the audience. I want to make sure that everyone is engaged and was able to pick up all of those gems and jewels that have been dropped. Raise your hand in the audience if you're learning something tonight and appreciate the different format of Pitch Your Nonprofit show, of how to pitch on Pitch Your Nonprofit show. And oh, wow, this is amazing. I'm seeing hands going up. This is so great.
Thank you so much. And I want to thank Caeley again. Caeley, can you tell us as we get you back to dinner, can you tell us, because I want to make sure that people can find your organization, and give us how they can contact you, your website, what you're doing, and ways that they can contribute to help you succeed at your mission.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. I can't believe Clubhouse randomly threw me up as a speaker, and it turned into a nice 40-minute conversation. That was awesome. So I run a nonprofit called Reinvented Inc., more commonly known across social media as Reinvented Magazine. I think we're most active on Instagram right now at Reinvented Magazine on Instagram, or reinventedmagazine.com. If you're a teacher, a student, or anyone in the tech industry in the audience, or not and just excited about tech, please send me a DM on Instagram, or I think Clubhouse now has this message system that I'm starting to kind of get used to. Love talking about diversity, especially empowering girls in STEM. But yeah, thanks so much for having me, Liberty.
Thank you so much, Caeley. We appreciate you coming up. Guys, if you are in the audience, I would love for you to raise your hand if you would like to come up and say one thing that you learned today from our conversation with Caeley, and one thing that will help you in the future with Pitch Your Nonprofit Show. Feel free to do that. I'm going to actually turn off the hand raising and turn it back on, because I don't want to bring you up if you were raising your hand to have you engage on the show, so that I know that you are learning and that you are actually picking up some of these jewels. So I'm going to turn it back on right now, and that will give us the opportunity to have you come up. And again, this episode of Pitch Your Nonprofit, I really wanted to dive into what it looks like when you come to Pitch Your Nonprofit Show, what it looks like to apply, what it looks like to come on stage, why you should come on stage, the benefits of pitching on Pitch Your Nonprofit Show, and what can transpire and what can be the transformation for your organization once you have successfully pitched on Pitch Your Nonprofit Show. And as we can see, Caeley's organization just really went through the roof from coming on to Pitch Your Nonprofit Show. And I love that every week Clubhouse has been doing that. It's been bringing up people on stage. That is really, that I'm going to bring a couple of people up here, and I would love to hear one thing that you have learned from today. So make sure you come up. When you come up, just come up on mute, and then we will get to you one by one. And if you can share one thing that you learned today from this episode of Pitch Your Nonprofit Show, and also state your name and your organization, so we'll have this for our replay, because I want people to continue to support your organization going forward. Okay, I see that I have Josh. Josh, welcome. Are you a nonprofit founder?
Yes, I am. This is my second time in the room. Thank you so much for having me again, Liberty. My name is Josh.
Josh, tell me, what did you learn today?
I learned something that your asks into digestible and achievable results. So yes, we're raising $12,000, but that's if it could be accomplished in this room, that's great. But $1,000, $500 is a lot more doable for folks maybe in this room and on Clubhouse. So just making sure that folks know they do have an opportunity to contribute, even if they cannot get to that big number with larger donations. And that was something that you all stressed the first time I came in. So I just appreciate that, and I appreciate you all bringing it on stage.
Thank you so much, Josh. I appreciate that. And also, just so we have your information and anyone that wants to contact you or your organization to learn more, can you give us your website and how they can contact you?
Yeah, absolutely. Everything that you need to contact me is on my bio. You can email me at josh@healingwhileblack.me. I'm on Instagram @healingwhileblack. You can also follow me on Clubhouse, and you can follow me on Twitter @healingwhileblack, but the black is spelled BLK there. Or you can just hit me on the back channel as well.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Josh. And again, because we are recording these conversations in the playback, people don't have Clubhouse and they're not reading bio. So that's why I want everyone to make sure to save their websites and organizations, because I want people to be able to find you and fund you. That is my goal with that. So thank you so much for that rundown. I appreciate you taking the time to give that information, Josh. Thank you.
Thank you.
And Miss Shea, hopefully I'm pronouncing that right. Am I pronouncing that right, Miss Shea?
Hi, Liberty. This is Kaya.
Kaya, thank you so much. Sorry about that, Miss Kaya. Can you tell me what is one thing that you've learned today?
So I just jumped in, and this sounds so fascinating, but right from the very few minutes that I got in here, the thing that jumped out at me was scanning the room. And I think that's going to be so powerful for me, just being aware who it is I'm talking to, and not just, have one size fits all kind of pitch. And that's so good. Thank you. Thank you so much for that.
Thank you so much, Miss Kaya. And can you tell us where people can contact you? Because obviously we're taking all these nuggets and we're learning these tools to sharpen and perfect our pitch because we're nonprofit founders. What is your organization and how can people connect with you? What's the website and Instagram? I think she just got a call in right at the moment.
Sorry, I was trying to turn off that call that was coming in. People can find me at www.placings.org, placings with a K, because we use game and creative activities to help people strategize and learn how to think in the real world outside of gaming and game playing. And the focus of the organization is help to use games to promote leadership skills within our youth. And my hope is to ask for.
Well, I don't want to go into your pitch right now. I just wanted to get your information on how they can contact you because I want to save your pitch for when we have that perfected. So if anyone wants to contact you, can you say that website for me again?
Yes, www.placingswithak.org.
Perfect. Perfect. Thank you so much. I love the fact that you were able to take away the reading the room and really outlining that ask. That's perfect. Thank you so much for coming to Pitch Your Nonprofit. Miss Christina, are you a nonprofit founder and what is the one thing that you learned today?
Yes, I am. First of all, hello everyone. Yes, I am a nonprofit founder, and today I learned the requirements on how to pitch.
Okay. Tell me more. What do you think or what now? I guess have you taken away from today?
I love it. I love it. I love this room. This is my first time in the room, and I will definitely be back. And like I said, I learned the requirements of how to pitch, and I will definitely perfect my pitch and submit to pitch. The name of my organization is Inspiring Youth on a Mission to Success nonprofit organization, and you can find me on IG, Instagram, the back channels, or you can contact me through Instagram, the back channels, text, which is in my bio. You can text me at 803-574-6730, or you can email me on the nonprofit email at iyms1sc@gmail.com.
Perfect. Thank you so much and welcome to Pitch Your Nonprofit. I know you said it's your first time at Pitch Your Nonprofit show. We decided to do a different kind of episode of Pitch Your Nonprofit. Typically what happens at the show, which you've heard me talk about, the sharks will come up. There's sharks on the stage and people will pitch one by one as they take the stage, and their nonprofit organizations are funded and they get feedback or they get funding or both. And it's just a phenomenal experience. But I wanted to take this time today to go over the requirements, what that looks like, what that feels like. How does that look for your organization once you pitch? What are the requirements? Having that framework down and just having that space where you can come and learn and ask questions. So I appreciate you guys for coming up to tell me exactly what you've learned today. So thank you so much. If anyone else wants to come up
to the stage, let me know. I want to, before we close it out, I want to thank you again for coming to Pitch Your Nonprofit show in this special edition of Pitch Your Nonprofit show of how do you pitch on Pitch Your Nonprofit show? What does it look like? What does the funding look like? And how can you make your experience really just take fire, as Caeley experiences just really went beyond the show and has been basically able to help her raise additional funding for her organization. Again, I want to invite you to go to pitchyournonprofit.com. Pitchyournonprofit.com is where you can go to apply to pitch. You can also click that little greenhouse at the top, which is the Nonprofit Founders Club. Nonprofit Founders Club produces the Pitch Your Nonprofit show. Pitch Your Nonprofit show is every Thursday at 6 p.m. Central, 7 p.m. Eastern Time. And this is the place to be for nonprofit founders. Pitch Your Nonprofit show is the #1 nonprofit show on Clubhouse, the #1 pitch show on Clubhouse. And we have funded over $250,000 to nonprofit founders. On Pitch Your Nonprofit show, we work on your pitch. We help you and we equip you to pitch your nonprofit like a tech founder is pitching for venture capital or angel investment. We want you to know the key framework that helps you capture attention and capture hearts. As that tech girl myself, Liberty Madison, as that tech girl, I've sat through thousands upon thousands of nonprofit pitches, tech pitches, and this is the place to be to perfect your pitch. My background in the tech space is kind of what brought the Pitch Your Nonprofit show to life. Sitting here and listening to tech founders constantly pitch because they have so much on the line. They have big dollars on the line. That's why they are worrying about the pitch, perfecting the pitch. And in Silicon Valley, everyone is pitching you constantly. You got your elevator pitch, I'm telling you, you got your hallway pitch. And just in case they got to chase you to the elevator, if they see a VC walking down the hallway, they are prepared. And what I've noticed in the nonprofit space, unfortunately, nonprofit founders just haven't been as equipped as tech founders until now. Welcome to Pitch Your Nonprofit show, where you will gain the framework that founders use in order to secure funding. And I want to, again, empower you to raise your hand, empower you to come to the stage, empower you to click on my face and click on Pitch Your Nonprofit profile on IG and stay connected to everything that comes out of Pitch Your Nonprofit show, because we are building a community. And I want to welcome you if you are in the nonprofit space, although you have to be a founder to pitch. If you're in the nonprofit space in general, feel free to reach out to me offline, reach out to me and connect with me to let me know how you're contributing to the nonprofit space. And again, I want to thank you for coming to a very special episode of Pitch Your Nonprofit show.
Janelle Brown here, CEO and founder of William is Artistic. I wanted to share a quick video about my experience on the Nonprofit Founders Pitch Your Nonprofit show. This past Thursday, I was able to step on the stage and pitch my nonprofit for the third time and walk away with my Artistic Creation Summer Program fully funded. This Pitch Your Nonprofit show has been very positive. Each time I stepped on stage, the first and the second time, I received valuable feedback on how to share my story and pitch my nonprofit, not only just to the sharks on the stage, but even out to community stakeholders and donors that are looking to contribute to a nonprofit organization. So I just want to thank the show for creating a space for nonprofit founders like myself to be able to pitch our nonprofits. We may not always walk away with monetary donations, but we always walk away with awesome feedback on how to share our stories with other stakeholders and other nonprofit founders that believe in our mission and are intrigued to donate to our organization. And then also other nonprofit founders reached out to collaborate, mentor, and also provided charitable donations toward my program. Thank you, Pitch Your Nonprofit show.
Subscribe, subscribe, subscribe.